At this point, we start the video with having already downloaded the Final Fall 2016 project folder, opened it in RStudio as an RStudio project, and are now looking at what we have. First, let me look at what the final exam RMD file looks like. So let's open that up. And if you're going to run this thing and you're going to collaborate on GitHub, the instructions are pretty clear. What you want to do is form separate branches, one for introduction, one for methods, one for results. Anything that's got the tic-tac-toe sign in only one occurrence here is a major section, and the last major section is the discussion and conclusion. If we do it that way, when it comes time to sharing, we can put together with Git merging various sections to form a report. That's a suggestion if you want to collaborate on GitHub is how to do it. But anyway, let's look at what we have here. This first segment actually loads in the data. So I'm going to run that chunk and then take a separate look at it. So let me run that chunk. Click here. Wait for that to... Okay, that's done, and let's see what we have. We have this data loaded in by this chunk over here that's the basis of what Zia has collected. And what we want to do is take a quick look at the data. So I'm going to simply click on the data, and it should appear here. Okay, here it is. This is a data frame. If I click this down, we have Scorpion ID, odor source, odor location, arm selected, and group. So a bunch of scorpions that I view this as an experiment with everything annotated in group. Here we got an untreated group. Now we have a group called marble. Now we have a group called foot painted. And now we have another group called nose painted. Those groups are conditions that affected the bunch of scorpions that we ran this experiment on. So what happened here is the odor source was an item that we placed at the end of a Y-shaped tube, set the little scorpion up at the pointy end of the Y-shaped tube, and send them on their trail down the tube. If there's a scorpion predator on one side of the tube, any sensible scorpion that could sense him wouldn't turn in the direction to get it eaten. He'd turn in the other direction, kind of like this guy did. Of course, there's a few of them that are confused. I like this one here. He says, let me turn and go over there and get eaten. Well, that can occur. You know, you always have a few dumb scorpions. But anyway, this block right here represents a block that you would ask questions about. Basically, is the direction that was turned independent of the location of the thing at the end of one side of the tunnel. In this case, the thing at the end of one side of the tunnel was the scorpion. And to see if they're independent or not, you'd run one of those, chi-squared, Fisher exact, some tests like that on that group. Now here's another group where what's at the end of the tunnel is a marble. So you could do the same thing with the people, or not the people, with the scorpions in this group. The answer to the question is presence of the marble independent? Does that change whether or not the direction that the scorpion turned was decided upon? And now you have a group called the foot painted. What that represents is Zia has a idea that one of the pinchers on the scorpion holds its nose. And this group is the ones where he painted over their supposed nose, and to see whether or not that would impact which way they turned. But just in case, putting paint on them screws them up in one way or the other. In this group, he painted some other portion on the back end or the other pincher or some other portion of the scorpion. So in essence, we have four groups here. and we can ask questions about independence of where the object was placed. Odor's location means what we put there, and arm select, which was the way the scorpion turned. So I can see several different questions that can be answered here, but I'm going to go ahead and answer maybe one of them. All right. To proceed, I am going to try to answer the question, is the presence of the marble independent of the direction that a scorpion that is 100% would turn? So in order to do that, I am going to create a short little script. So I'm going to make an R script right here, and I'm going to paste in what I already have. So let's look at this particular script. Notice we've already loaded in the Scorps data. It's a data frame, as we can see here. We've already looked at it. And this is going to take a thing called marble and only put in it the stuff where the group name is marble, thus substantially reducing the size. Watch what happens when I run this particular line. Run. And here marble has only got 21 observations in it. And now what we're going to do is test the idea that the direction that the scorpion turns is independent of where the marble is. And we're going to do that with this chi-squared test right here. So let's run that. And let's see, it's kind of bitching at us, but it says the p-value is 1, which basically says that they're totally independent. Let's try a Fisher exact test on that thing. Same idea. Are they independent? Chi-squared test said they were. So run that. And here we are. Yes, the p-value from the Fisher exact test is again 1, thus completely well, more or less confirming or simply not rejecting the null. And look at the odds ratio here. It says the odds that is somewhere between 0.16 and 9.8. Here's the estimated odd ratio from the data there, saying that it looks pretty much like there's no influence from the marble as to the direction that the thing turned. Let's make some more data up and look at this stuff graphically. So let's run that. And from our graph over here, it looks like, irrespective of where the odor was placed, left or right, the direction that the scorpion would turn is about 50-50. In other words, it doesn't matter where it is. This basically confirming the idea that the marble and the direction turned, or where the odor source was and which way the scorpion turned, are independent events. Well, so that's one idea. You have several in here. Here's a sort of a method to do it. And so with that, we're going to shut off this explanation.